Welcome to Moments in Time with Lucien Byfield. Today we shall look back on the history of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Given that this is the second year of these race previews, I will deliberately avoid repeating in detail the same and most common knowledge. You know, like Boutsen's final career win in 90, Mansell's 89 win in that slingshot move past Senna using Johansson in the Onyx as a distraction, Schumacher's masterclass in 98, Damon Hill's extremes at the track, and Button's amazing 2011 win. I will, however, delve a little deeper into some lesser-known history of what is possibly my second or third favourite track. Austria, Brazil and Hungary are in my top three. In 1988, we saw a side of Alain Prost rarely seen in his mid to late career. He was driving like a young man obsessed, and he had reason. I shall explain. Mid-1988, despite a great start for both McLaren drivers early in the season, Prost had fared well against new teammate Senna, but suddenly Ayrton was on a winning streak that would last for 4 rounds. It started in Silverstone, where Prost was having all kinds of trouble with a wayward car in torrential rain, and he retired the car, resulting in much criticism, despite how genuinely damaged his car really was. And then, to make it worse, he spun in Germany, though he did finish second. He was rattled, and Senna was untouchable at this point. So coming to Hungary, Prost had something to prove. Senna got pole, of course, but the professor qualified a disastrous 7th in that car. Ron Dennis, in a rare show of love, stood with Alain on the starting grid, on a track renowned for difficulty with overtaking. He did not make a good start and he fell down a couple of places, but in a storming drive, he hunted down his stablemate, carved through the field in a way he was not renowned for, and actually passed Senna for the lead in the closing stages of the race. There were 2 problems though for Prost. One, he went deep into turn 1 when passing Senna and lost the lead immediately, and 2, his car developed a wheel bearing issue, hampering him from trying again. It was a great performance from Prost, but Senna at this stage of the season was in complete control and would only be rattled once he got to Monza. Riccardo Patrese was a gun at the Hungaroring, yet he always found bad luck. From a hold radiator in 89, when he had been leading, to spinning out of the lead in 92 after starting from pole. He just seemed to shine there for many of the latter years of his career, but never managed to get that elusive win. He was, however, to get his final career podium there in 93 for Benetton, finishing second to Hill. I loved seeing his Latin rants in 1991 when the car failed in practice. It was so hilarious. Very reminiscent of Alex Zanardi in 96 in the kart series when he was taken out of the lead in a certain race. I love seeing this kind of passion, the fire and the frustration overflowing from those Latin temperaments. In recent years, this has been a track for Hamilton and Vettel. Lewis has won 6 times, and surprisingly, Sebastian has only won twice. Even more remarkably, only in his Ferrari years. Kimi Raikkonen in 2005 and Daniel Ricciardo in 2014 are the other current racers who have won in Hungary. There have been 4 first-time winners, Damon Hill in 1993, the mighty Fernando Alonso in 2003, Jenson Button in 2006 and Heikki Kovalainen in 2008. Interestingly, Jenson gave Honda their first win in 2006 since Berger had won for McLaren Honda in Australia in 1992. And it was also their last win until Max Verstappen won in Austria this year. Slim pickings for Honda indeed, but Honda have actually won 2 of the last 3 races in 2019, so I would not put it past them winning here again. Also interesting is how well the Finnish drivers have gone at this track, with Häkkinen, Raikkonen and Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium. You could say the same for the Brazilians, with the first 3 races won by Piquet and Senna. Barrichello would fly the flag too in 2002, but Massa was robbed of a sure win in 2008. Even more surprising is the fact that Alain Prost never won here despite having a great car many times, although if you add up the races, he had a lot of mechanical issues, from the gearbox gremlin in 1990 in Ferrari, to stalling on the grid from pole in 93 and then having to start from the back. Nigel Mansell would win his one and only Formula 1 title in true Mansell style. Late race concerns saw him pit with a suspected puncture and he would finish second to Senna, but take the title, complete with the, by then, infamous victory limp as it was called, which did turn out to be a genuinely broken foot, the legacy of the Adelaide crash in 91, where he refused to have it operated on due to the recovery period interfering with training and testing in '92. Now, Simon Welch reminded me what Ayrton Senna said to Mansell on the podium that day. It was quite telling. Paraphrasing, he basically said to Mansell that it was a nice feeling winning a title. And now you know why I am such a... you can fill in the blanks. Speaking of Mansell, his drive in 1988 was majestic, despite his brevity. He was racing with suspected chickenpox, and was again sick, ill, whatever. And though he qualified second in an average Williams and raced up front with Senna in the mighty McLaren Honda of that year, he was not fit or able to concentrate. As it turned out, he would miss the next 2 races, such was the severity of his illness. Of course. There have been some mega crashes, notably Ralph Furman Jr. in 2003 in practice. He missed the race and the following one too, such was the impact upon his body, not to mention the car. Cameras only just caught a bit of the accident, but you can see how bad it was. This twist of fate was to give Hungary its one and only native driver in a Formula 1 race. Zolt Baumgartner would make a couple of races that year in the Jordan, and then he raced for Minardi the following year. A retirement in '03 and a 15th place in 2004 were hardly the glittering prizes to give to a home crowd, but at least he got to race on home soil in the elite category, and to this day is the only Hungarian to race in Formula 1. In 2007 we saw an inter-team rivalry that was simmering between Hamilton and Alonso boil over. Hamilton, disobeying team orders in his first season, let us not forget, refused to let Alonso have his agreed upon track position in qualifying. So Nando got his revenge by blocking Hamilton in the pits, costing him his final flying lap. Hamilton had been on pole, Nando took it off him, but was later penalised, which ultimately cost him a shot at victory. At the time, not many knew what was really going on, but Mark Priestley's book tells all, and a young upstart of a driver that Hamilton was at the time was to actually tell Ron Dennis to F off and never to interfere with him again. It was so heated, brutal, and Ron had no control of either of his drivers. We all know how that year turned out, Kimi certainly does. In closing, let us recall the 2014 race. What a corker that was. In a strange race where we saw the dominant Hamilton start from the pit lane and spin on the first lap, he was to later in the race disobey team orders again, hindering Rosberg, but in a storming drive finish third, with Alonso second and the honey badger himself getting his second career win. It was a strange reversal of form for the usually dominant Mercedes in the new hybrid era, but a race marred by crashes, safety cars and tyre issues was to grant us, the spectators, a fantastic race and result, particularly for us Aussies. Well, that's it for Moments in Time for another round. Catch you later.